Hello, people of now. It is September 17th, 2020. Yes, I got a haircut, and my name is Anthony Moseley. I took a half-inch off my beard. Hello, Dr. Marcus. Are we connected?
Yes, I think I am. This is Marcus Robinson, Collaborations Executive Director. Wow.
And I'm Anthony Moseley, Collaborations Artistic Director. Welcome to Crucial Connections. It's a special show. As some of you know, Collaboration lost a very special family member last week with the passing of Sam Peretta. Sam was and still is, a very special person, artist, collaborator, friend, poet, shaman, easygoing freak, and he gave a fantastic hug. He touched thousands of people in the Chicago theater community, and he led with example with how he cherished life, people, moments, things of all sorts and sizes. And tonight we dedicate this show to Sam and his family, who will always be a part of the Collaboration family. We love you, Sammy, and we cannot wait to have you whispering sweet nothings in our ear for the next few decades at least.
Yeah.
We've also have a GoFundMe to share to help Sam's wife Anya and his boys Pas and Luca through this difficult time so that they can have some support. Please give and share what you can. We'll drop that in the Facebook chat, or just go to GoFundMe and look up for Sammy, Anya, Pas, and Luca. We're trying to raise $50,000. We got about 8,000 to do. It'd be great to close that out by tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. Sam's passing has inspired the first segment of this show, and he's telling me to keep it moving. So, all right, here we go. Welcome to season 2, episode 3 of our 12th episode now of Crucial Connections, Collaborations Weekly, hyper-local, thinking global, online space to dismantle oppression of all forms and lift each other up.
Yes, and our Zoom guests can join us here in the Zoom conference live. And hello, everybody. Please make yourself at home. Phil, I hope this is like talking with you across the dining room table. Just, just raise your hand or raise your voice to join the conversation. We want you involved in this as much as you feel comfortable doing so. All of us can do that by signing up for a ticket in advance. And there are others who are watching the live stream on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. And you can also subscribe to our Together network for only $5 a month. That'll keep you engaged, informed, and connected to all of our work, and most importantly, to get you behind the paywall to participate in something like this. So please do that. Looking forward to seeing all of you and hearing your voices tonight.
Oh, I see Carolyn Herdeman in the Zoom room, and Mary Kay Cook and Rachel, and we'll have to bring some folks on later. Hopefully they'll get the courage to turn on the video camera themselves. This program is made possible thanks to the support from our sponsors, AV Chicago, the Mark and Jeannie Malnati Family Foundation, the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation, and people like you who can make a one-time donation at collaboration.org and sign up to be a monthly contributor.
That's right. And as you know, we've been running this campaign over the last few months. We called it the Transcendence Campaign, that was designed to help us raise the money we needed to ensure that the programs like this and the Light and the Peace Book Festival and all the other things that we're doing this year inside of the pandemic actually happens. And we got this great challenge grant, and you folks really chipped in, each and every one of you, and we've been able to reach our goal, beat our goal. The Transcendence Campaign has raised, drum roll, $108,000, $108,058. Oh my!
Oh, wow!
That touched me right there. I love that. Thank you so so very much for all of you who contributed, to all of our donors who breathe life into Collaboration to help us sustain through this pandemic, and you allow us to continue to thrive and to continue to manifest our mission of social change here in Chicago.
Thank you, everyone, for your support. And you know, we closed out that campaign, so it's time to start a new one because we've got big plans. We're delighted to announce We Still Dream.
We do.
A campaign that it combines our 5th annual Peace Book Festival and the Utopian Ball. We'll be premiering 10 new videos by Chicago artists. Can we go ahead and cue up that beautiful slide of wait till you see how good this looks. We have 10 new videos by Chicago artists split into 2 programs for Peace Book, 5 videos each. Essential Perspectives, which will be exploring community resilience to COVID-19, and that is funded in part by the Illinois Humanities. And that includes artists like Phenom, Willie Round, Mia Park, Sami Isma, and Jasmine Cardenas. And these pieces are right from the heart. And then we also have Visions of Peace, which are 5 powerful transformational visions of one person's peace. And we have Darling Squire, Luzzo, Matthew LaChapelle in the house, Ada Chang, and it's an incredible collection. We can't wait to share it with you. Vernon Gooden is the 10th piece.
Yes, these 10 videos will premiere on the Together Network on October 17th. October 17th, write that down. And it'll run throughout the month leading up to the Utopian Ball on November 14th. Write that down, and you're invited to join us. Go to collaboration.org and get the full lineup and tickets to the Utopian Ball as we celebrate the completion of our next fundraising campaign.
That's right. We're going to have Thursday night watch parties. We're going to do a premiere. We're going to have the artists on with us. We're going to be on Zoom and Facebook. So we hope that you will really make space for these 10 powerful pieces. And we got a show to do, Marcus.
Yes, let's do it.
On this week's show, we're going to be exploring 2 topics that are very close to our heart. The first is artists coping with depression and mental illness during the pandemic, with our guest, Dr. Christina Peterson. And the second half, we will be talking about our country's battle with white supremacy with award-winning filmmaker, Peter Hutchinson, talking about his new film, Healing from Hate, Battle for the Soul of a Nation. Julius Long, who's featured in this powerful documentary. I mean, these are 2 really heavyweight, important topics to be covering, and that's what we do here on Crucial Connections.
And so it's my pleasure to welcome to the show my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Christina Peterson. Dr. Peterson is she's the Assistant Dean of Education at Roosevelt University, which is founded on the principles of social justice and change. And she's responsible for the curriculum for teaching therapists how to develop empathy and to convey these really rich ideas in psychotherapy that helps people grow and change and do the work we need to do in order to be the best we can be. So welcome, Dr. Peterson.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we'll just dive right in, and Anthony, you can just certainly chime in when you want. And folks, if you got questions, type them into the chat, if you will, or raise your hand, and we'll bring you up, and we'll chat with you. So
we'll also keep an eye on the Facebook live stream if you're on that as well.
Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, you bet. So, Dr. Peterson, I'm wondering if you could give us some insight as to what you've gleaned from the news and from clients and at school. How do you see folks faring under the weight of the pandemic and the social unrest and some of the other ongoing stressors that we experience today?
Yeah, sure. I think normally we have our difficulties and our things that we go through in life. And just over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, with the pandemic and the pandemic of racial injustice and all of the things that have happened since then, what I have seen is that there's this global experience of collective trauma and collective grief that is not only creating new sorts of mental health issues and stressors for people, but those who already suffered from things like depression and anxiety and those sorts of mental health issues. Those are their issues are exacerbated, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge with isolation and hopelessness and despair and just being so completely overwhelmed with everything that's going on. You turn on the news and it's another thing and another thing, and then not knowing what's going to happen and when it's going to end. It's just it's chronic now, and so it's this chronic collective trauma and collective sense of loss, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I'll just share from my standpoint. Just I came into the pandemic and this new season of awareness around white supremacy and the pressures of racism in our society, already with some bumps and bruises and twists and turns in my life, right? So going into the kind of the lockdown, for me, being a very extroverted style person and being, just kind of focused on one other individual in the world for, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 days in a row, that was hard on me. And, I found myself out of sorts, and still in some ways out of sorts today. I wonder to what extent does isolation really bring out the kind of the cracks in the armor, as it were? What are you seeing about that?
So human beings are hardwired, like physiologically hardwired for connection. We regenerate our spirits, our minds, those sorts of things by connecting with other people. We're social beings. And so the isolation, having to either quarantine yourself or self shelter in place, those sorts of things, or not go and do the things that you've done before, or connect with the friends and family members that you connected with before, really has taken its toll on people. And we have to find videos nice, but there's nothing that beats human touch, or that, like you were talking earlier, Anthony, about that, the hugs and those sorts of things. Those actually fuel us and help us to feel good and feel better. So that's part of it, that isolation. And then, on the flip side of that too, in terms of mental health, if you're isolated with people, or a person you're in a difficult situation or a difficult relationship with, those things are also magnified. So domestic violence is increased, addiction, those sorts of issues, all of those things. We've just seen a huge increase in those sorts of things.
Yeah. I noticed folks in the artist community, taking this pretty hard in many ways, because there is no shooting of films or getting on stage or going to rehearsals and doing all this stuff that requires us to be intimately involved in other people's spaces, which is the antithesis of socially distant. That physical distance makes it super hard. And so even when we're doing work in a kind of in this transdisciplinary role that we have now, where we got people doing work at home on their own, piping it in over the internet, I've noticed folks that what would normally be a pinch of an interaction between people has the impact of a crunch. If you kind of hear the difference in the size of impact between a slight little pinch and a crunching ache that just will not go unnoticed. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that in other spaces, or people are reporting that, or does that make sense to you that folks would be sensitive to this environment?
I think that we kind of talk about, responding to a crisis, so the pandemic and everything that happened after that, and all of the other traumatic things that have happened in the world. We talk about those, or responding to those, as a one-time thing, right? So we can react in a certain way, and then we get better, and then things we're able to reconnect, and we're able to kind of get back to normal. This has all gone on for a really, really long time. And so when you say we can handle a pinch, but when it's, and maybe I would look at it as a squeeze, like it's a continued, it's just continued for really, really long. And we haven't had a chance to really come up and take a breath, or reset that good vibe, if you would.
Yeah.
And the goal line it continues for artists. It's just, especially theater artists, it's just been continued to be pushed back. We think we're maybe 3 months away, and we're just 3.5 months away, and then it's been ongoing. Dr. Peterson, sorry, I'm just going to jump right into a question that's on my mind. Like, so, you've heard we've had a tragic loss in our community. So the most generous, sweet, charismatic, giving person. This person created a piece of theater called The Gift, based on Lewis Hyde's book. I mean, he was the best gifter. What should we be looking out for in our peers? What should we be paying attention to make sure, if we see the signs that somebody is struggling, that we do something? And then what should we do? And what if we see those signs in the mirror, and you're talking about us personally?
Yeah. So this might sound really simple and kind of cliche, and the fact that we're talking about crucial connections here is really kind of key, but connecting with your peers and connecting with those people. And if you know that they're struggling, generally when somebody gets into a real deep depression, or they're heading that way, they withdraw and they kind of back off, and they don't connect with their people anymore, and don't necessarily talk about what's going on with anybody. And same thing with you. You don't want to be a burden to your friends, or you don't want to talk about things you don't want to bring everybody else down to where you're feeling, those sorts of things. But I think just even that ability to connect and have a conversation and talk with people who are in your same situation, right? So in the artist community, if it's on a video and you have a video jam session, or those sorts of things, those ways that you do. But even that, I have found that I probably send way more text messages in the morning about, I'm thinking about you. I wish you a good day, but if you're, if you need anything, please call me, text me, those sorts of things. And with family and friends, especially, because we need those crucial connections in order to survive. And I would say also that, don't forget, though lots of therapists and mental health professionals are not seeing people in the office, many have converted to teletherapy and are doing sessions and working with people in their mental health issues all the time. And so they're available. They're out there.
Yeah, I noticed for me in this scenario is that oftentimes, especially with my artist friends that I've lost along the way, they have a way of presenting themselves in the world that conceals the what's really going on inside. And though they may withdraw, well, they're just focusing on, they just focus on their family, you know, like the, you know, if I call you for a gig, you say no, got something to do with my kids. You don't fault them for doing stuff with their kid. Yeah, okay, cool. But that happens a few times before you know it, you're disconnected. And every time we talk, it feels the same, and then something happens. There's a guilt, you know, that I have associated with that. Like, I should have known better. You know, even being a professional myself with mental health credentials, it's like I tell myself I should have known. You know, and it becomes another one of those traumas that I have experienced. But one of the things I have been doing that I can reflect on this maybe is I've been checking in with all my friends and artists, but also I've been doing a thing I've been calling micro affections. You know, you know, I'm willing to be the sappy, touchy feely one in all my bunches now. You know, you may giggle at me as I, you know, send some smooches or say something cool to this other colleague of mine, but you know you like it and you wish I was saying it to you kind of thing, you know. I mean, that's how I've been surviving myself, and it feels like the more I give those little touches, you know, the little texts, the little emails, the better.
Are you doing smooch emojis to your boys?
Well, I
haven't got none. I ain't got no. I got nothing, man.
Oh man, we be sharing love face to face on Zoom 3 or 4 times a day, man. I thought that was it. Here you go.
A little smooch emoji won't get a long way.
Nah, brother. Come on, brother.
I think though you're right, Marcus, about that. You know, personally too, this is one thing that I've learned through all of this is that, you know, you have to say what you need to say and don't hold back with the I love yous and I'm thinking of you and I miss you or I really want to talk to you or those sorts of things. Like your authentic message or now's the time that we need to not be afraid to show people how we feel about each other and be able to connect in that way. So I agree.
This is a great time to invite anybody from our Zoom room to join us. If you have a question, you can either put the question in the chat or you can say in the chat, I will come on video and ask a question. And then the team will bring you on. In the meantime, Doctor, it sounds like what you're saying is the people that you love the most that you haven't heard from, you should call them up and tell them you love them. And if you are the person that everybody hasn't heard from, then people should call you, or maybe you should just take the initiative and say, you know what, I'm going to make a call and I'm going to tell somebody that I could use a little support right now.
Yeah.
You know, as organizations and even as families, I think one of the things that that I've seen a lot of and started to do is creating those spaces that are just social spaces. So a Zoom, my family and I do Zoom happy hours. Probably, I shouldn't even say this, but probably once a week. Yeah, once a week.
That's okay. Once a week is fine. If it's one day.
Yeah, take out the probably, but you know, everybody gets their glass of wine or their drink and we sit and we chat and catch up and really connect. And you know, we've connected and then we invite people who we really miss and who we want to spend time with. And that helps to kind of get through those times. You look forward to that connection at that time too.
Yeah, speaking of family, I want to turn the conversation a little bit so that we could kind of tilt towards the next conversation. That you and your family were directly connected in some way, you know, as observers and involved in the city of Minneapolis as it went through its traumatic stress over the last 6 months, and it has impact, right? These are a different kind of stressors. The thing happened right in your neighborhood, kind of thing. And I remember seeing photographs of you taking trips through the various different the tributes that were left out for folks. Can you give us some insight as to how you sense the folks in Minneapolis are feeling right now, and how we collectively might be internalizing the pain of the source of the uprising?
Yeah, so my experience is my son and his brand new wife, he just got married, live in North Minneapolis. And my son is, as a Black man, was deeply affected by the murder of George Floyd, and actually withdrew from me and was very really only spoke to his brother for a while, a couple weeks, because it was that was the person that shared his experience. So they knew how each other felt and could really kind of talk through that and process their own feelings and emotions. And a couple weeks after it happened, I just actually, well, it's my son. So I went to Minneapolis and I was like, I got to make sure that you're okay. I need to check on you, those sorts of things. And we did go down together to the memorial site where George Floyd was killed. And when I tell you the experience of that um, shared that shared grief experience, and everybody was grieving together, and yet it seemed like a protected space, safe space to do that. And I guess it has ignited my commitment to fight for racial justice and educate myself and others on race issues and white privilege and social change and advocacy and all those sorts of things. And so I think that internalizing that grief and those feelings, and one of the ways that to kind of help with that or handle that is to tell your story and to be able to share your story and to be active in some sort of helping others to make that.
Yeah, that really fits in terms of folks who are like really open to letting you into their lives, and I really appreciate what you shared about your family and what you folks are going through and having having that experience. And so I'm connecting that now to when folks withdraw from us and we just can't seem to, they don't respond to us, kind of thing. Like maybe if you'd went to Minneapolis and your son decided that, he just didn't want to see anybody. I had a situation in my life like that where I wouldn't see anybody for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's like I was, going through a thing. And I know the folks wanted to reach out to me and connect with me, but I just didn't let them in. So I'm wondering, as we look towards the closing out this part of our conversation, if we had a word that you could say to that would help us kind of figure out what steps we can take. And thanks to Heather Dalmage for such a great question in our chat. What can we do to help stubborn old me?
For someone who's isolated themselves?
Yeah, who's resisting, a little bit.
Yeah. I guess, kind of in conversations I've had with my sons, both of them, since all of this has happened and since we've kind of reconnected. One is there's somebody out there that they can connect with, and it might not be you, and don't take that personally. But like, just make sure, don't stop reaching out. Don't stop reaching out, and don't stop saying that, because even if the person isn't responding to you, hopefully they're hearing your message, and, rally other people around them too. Gosh, that's a tough one, because we take that personally and we take responsibility for taking care of each other.
Yeah. As you say that, I'm reminded of what I used to hear when I used to fly. Was put my own mask on first, do my own little self-care, so that I, can be responsive to others. And even when they're not responsive to me, to still take care of myself and to, still feel good about, taking those extra steps. So, yeah, race, oppression, white supremacy, the COVID thing going on. These are traumas we're all experiencing all at once, all at the same time. And we notice that they're falling on different groups of people differently, right? Some people are, apparently have more resiliency factors supporting them than others, and we're disproportionately impacted. And I wonder if you're seeing a correlation between the ways in which COVID is piling up impact on people of color, and how mental health problems promulgate in a particular way. Is there more of an impact there than the population? And what are you seeing about that? And what can you tell us about that? And what could we be doing about that as people who care?
It's the same sort of things that, I think the COVID pandemic has just shined a spotlight on the disparities in healthcare, in mental health care, in community services, in resources, in education, in all of the disparities and racial inequities are just exacerbated, and now people are seeing them. And so definitely my first and foremost thing that I'm going to tell you is vote, 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 vote. Definitely vote. We need to make some major changes. There's lots of good organizations doing advocacy and those sorts of things first for the structural and systemic changes. But connections, again, it's take care of each other. We need to take care of each other and really, make sure that even those small things like, bringing a neighbor some food, or helping, calling your artist friends and saying, is there anything that you need? I personally have, I have a friend who's an artist, who's an actor, who's out of work. And so the economic crisis has taken a toll. And I hired him to do some client scenario videos for my class so that those sorts of things. But just think of those things and really lean into each other, lean into this connecting piece, I think.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Looks like Laura Fraudenberg in our audience has a question. She goes, got any advice on when someone still will not speak with the therapist? I got family members like that, and they probably thought I was one like that at some point. Well, he won't go. Someone you're not. So her question is about, is there what to do with someone who still won't talk with a therapist, someone you're not really in close proximity with, but they're clearly showing the red flags of deep depression over a period of years, but and then the pandemic is worse. What can I do?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can't force anybody unless they're showing signs of suicidality or those sorts of things. You can't force anybody to seek help from a therapist or a counselor. And it generally doesn't work if you do. But things like taking care of them or helping them take care of themselves in terms of lifestyle. Are they getting enough sleep? Are they eating right? Are they do they get exercise? Those sorts of things? So that mind, body, spirit piece, and then making sure that there's that space where they can, if that's always open. I'll pay for a therapist. I'll help you with finding a therapist, and maybe it's about finding a therapist that's a good fit. Somebody who's not going to necessarily diagnose them with a problem, but just somebody to talk through things with. And everybody in the whole world at this point, I think, needs a therapist. The global collective, it's really critical.
Yeah, we're all a little bent and twisted. I'm okay with that. I probably could use another year or two on the couch myself, but that's another story. I'm thinking that so as we make art, and particularly like even the art that's going to be revealed in this next 10 pieces that we got coming up. These are folks who these are first person narratives. These are stories about, really, meaningful stuff. I mean, they really put their hearts and soul into it. So as theater makers and producers, what can you say to folks like Anthony and myself to, have us be a little bit more game on, taking good care of the folks that make art with us?
So I'm a narrative therapist, so it's about stories for me. What's the story? What's the story behind it? And what kind of what's the meaning behind what the story is? What are they trying to tell you, and what are they trying to tell the world? There's hidden things in their in things as well. So, pay attention, and help
Okay.
get that story out. Sometimes that is therapy in and of itself. Writing music, or
Yeah.
spending time, sitting by the lake, or those sorts of things. That creativity, drawing, anything that you can do to be able to share your story with the world, and then have it mean something to somebody else, is significant.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. I needed that. I will definitely do those things, and I'll keep throwing those micro affections out there, and staying connected. And I'll also stay connected to you. Thank you so very much for spending time with us tonight. And if you folks are looking for a great education with a social justice underpinning, there's no greater place to do that than Roosevelt University, and you'll be in the great hands of my friend, the Dean of Education over there. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, Kristina.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.